to start our demonstration for the day. Please gather around and grab a seat. We have plenty of them. We'd like to welcome a special guest here with us. We have a wonderful veteran chef of the Twin Cities, Beth Fisher of Wiseacre Eatery, at the brand new restaurant called Wiseacre, owned by the owners of Tangletown. It's an incredible local foods restaurant with some great outdoor seating and beautiful foliage.
Everyone loves our gardens.
Yeah. So today we're going to be doing a demonstration on preserving, pickling, and we're going to put together a little antipasti plate and demonstrate how you can bring home some of the market's most beautiful produce, preserve it, serve it during the holidays to your guests in a form of an antipasti platter, things like that. You'll be surprised at some of the things you can buy here and reproduce later for entertaining purposes and whatnot. But there's a lot of potential here today. So I'd like to welcome Beth and
Yeah, thanks, Nick.
Okay, we're going to try getting your levels up a little bit.
Levels up. All right.
Okay, now we can hear Beth.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you. Well, I'm the chef at the new Wiseacre Eatery, and we are owned by a farm. So my biggest challenge is to represent the farm in the winter, and so I do a lot of canning and a lot of preserving to be able to showcase my farm in January and February when we're not growing anything. And we're in beautiful pickling, canning, preserving season right now. The harvest is coming in, and so we're really excited to be canning as fast as we can and putting things up and being already thinking about those winter meals with the chutney on the crusty bread and just beautiful things that we use. We make everything in-house at Wiseacre, so all of our pickles, we do a lot of quick pickling as opposed to canning, which is more like a week. You can keep things about a week in the refrigerator. So I was going to show you our quick pickles that we use every day. We can't keep up with these because we put them on all our hamburger plates and our grilled cheeses and stuff, and so it's very fun and fast, and it's not a hot thing. You can make the brine the day before and buy your cucumbers that morning and slice them and get it all put together. I love these big jars, obviously, because I'm trying to can for a lot of people later on. So these were, when I found these, I bought a whole pallet of them. So I'm putting up as much as I can in the large half-gallon jars. But we use a lot of the really pretty little. And we sell, I brought just kind of a smattering of what we do at the restaurant. The hot pepper jelly is a really fun one to do, and peppers are in right now. We just pickled whole pieces of corn. This corn was in the field yesterday morning, and I pickled it last night and brought it in. So it's got it's a hot pickle because I use some of our hot peppers. I put a little bit of turmeric in there to kind of make it ignite kind of the color. We just kind of want it to be really yellow, because again, we're thinking January, we're buried in snow, it's cold, and I want things to really showcase the fields. So we're gonna also do a little pickling of eggs. We pickle eggs and put it on one of our salads called the Shades of Summer salad.
Not just for Easter.
Yeah, so it's really fun. We put a little fresh slice of beet and some onion and a really simple brine that we do our same quick pickles in. And it's just hard-boiled eggs, and we pickle them for a day or two, and then we cut them in half, and they're just beautiful. The color's so fuchsia, and we just love our pickled eggs. But again, that's a quick pickle. It's not something that I would pickle and put down in the preserving cellar for months. You could, but you'd need to read a lot more and figure out the exact recipe. This recipe is really only for 5 days in the refrigerator,
Yeah, what Beth's talking about is when you go ahead and can things, there's a processing method, and things actually cook a little bit longer in the hot water bath method if you're doing high acid things, and so that's really tricky. And sometimes things can get overcooked if you don't know what you're doing and turn into mush. So what Beth's talking about is things that really stay crisp and are nice texture, and they're available within after a couple days to a week of aging in the vinegar.
Exactly, yes. So it's quick pickling. It's pickling as opposed to canning is what I differentiate it. We are going to do a little canning. I supplied a recipe for some rutabaga, carrot, and fennel canned goodness. So that's going to be beautiful on an antipasta platter in January. You can pull that out, and they're fresh garden carrots. We're going to be using some really pretty carrots and rutabagas that we sourced here at the market. So we just simply washed them, nipped off the top and the end, and cut them in half, and did a really quick blanch, which is all in the recipe. So we'll show you that. For now, I'm going to do these because we're going to sample these, and I'm going to give them, you know, like a 45-minute pickling. So I have my brine. This is really easy. It's 1 cup of vinegar. I usually use cider vinegar, or I would use white if I didn't have cider vinegar. Cider vinegar just has a little sweetness to it. And then 1 cup of sugar, and then 3 cups of water, a 1/4 cup of pickling spice, which you can make yourself, or you can buy at the local spice area, and kind of look for one that's fresh looking. The bay leaves are green and stuff like that, because it can definitely be old.
True, yeah, you can make your own. Any variation of the spices works well.
Yeah, if you like licorice-y flavor, you could put more star anise in it maybe, or you can bump up the cloves, add cloves to it, stuff like that.
A lot of different cultures have their own spice variation on pickling, so that's kind of interesting as well. And one thing that Beth mentioned is that she used a cup of vinegar to, was it 3 cups of water?
To 3 cups of water, yeah.
Many recipes are like 1-to-1 vinegar to water, which produces really, really tart pickles. And chefs often are a little bit more exacting in the flavor and tone it down and provide more water in that recipe, and it's not as overpowering.
Yeah, imagine yeah, that can do us for that. You can go in there. You might have to make more. Imagine you're in January enjoying your pickled antipasta plate with a glass of wine. Well, you don't want it to just completely blow your palate because you made a really sour pickle, because then you're not going to be able to taste your wine or really anything else. So you want to tone that down with a little bit of water. It's best to, I wouldn't go after, if you're going to can some pickles and you're going to do 24 jars, I would try 6 first and try them and know your recipe, because you may in January start opening up your jars and be like, oh, this was like a way salty recipe or too much acid, so it's kind of a fun thing to get to know your recipes and write. And I always write tons of notes and how it worked and what my flavor profiles were and stuff. So we're cooking some more eggs. They're so fresh. The best egg is an old egg to peel and make a hard-boiled egg.
Kind of strange in the cooking world. It's one of the few exceptions.
Yeah, it's one of the few things that you sort of, that's why I think my mom made hard-boiled eggs, because she was like, oh, those eggs are getting old, I'll hard-boil them. And then, that saved them for another week. We make a lot of egg salad sandwiches. We have a really simple egg salad sandwich that people are just loving, and we use our hot pepper jelly in it and a little bit of our homemade mayonnaise and a little bit of our garden chives, and that's it. That's the recipe, hard-boiled eggs, and people just flip over it. It's a really nice, mildly spicy egg salad. So we've had a lot of fun, and we cannot keep up with the eggs. So we're peeling fresh eggs all the time, and my chefs are always coming to me with new ideas. The newest one is to poke a hole in the fat end, just a tiny pinhole before you cook it. We'll try it, but that seems like a lot of labor too if we're cooking 80 eggs and we have to poke a hole in 80 eggs and cook them.
One method I like to use for the peeling of eggs that are fresh sometimes is after you cook them and they're still hot, drain off the water and then shake them, get a bit of, crack the shells a little, and then get them in really cold ice water for about 10 minutes. That way the water can get in there and loosen it a little bit, and they're a little bit easier to peel than if you didn't do that per se. But we often work with fresh eggs, and that's one good technique. The Germans have a little tool that's got a pinprick that they sell in their grocery stores, and it's probably like a $4 item. And it hasn't made it to this country yet, but we're looking for it. We're going to import it.
So, while our eggs are cooking, I'm going to go ahead and put together our brine for our pickled carrots and turnips with fennel. Everybody's familiar. Fennel's in right now. Everybody's finding it. It's a big, beautiful. It sort of pulls apart like celery and sort of has a crunch like celery, but it's got a big anise flavor, a lot of licorice flavor. It's really fun. It'll kind of, I'm going to boost that flavor with fennel seed, which I toasted a little bit earlier. You always want to toast your spices to kind of, you never know how long they've been sitting. I mean, these are from Penzies, so they're probably not that old. But it just wakes up the flavors and brings the oils to the front of the seeds. You can do it with cumin seeds and most definitely fennel seed we do that with, so it really gives it a nice fennel-y flavor.
We're using the fennel today from Mompaz Garden. They have it, and so does Loon Organics right over here, selling fennel today. You can find it there. Keeps a fair amount of time in your fridge, probably a week. You might want the fawns kind of wilt a little bit earlier, but
yeah, I usually cut these away, and there's not much you can do with them. They don't have a lot of flavor. They're pretty, and that's about it. Maybe chop a little bit up, but it's not really something that you want to can or preserve for later. And again, they're not really even a very delicious item. This is what you're after, is this piece. And I like to just rustically, since we're going to put it in a jar, I just rustically slice down. And then you can kind of see the layers of it. They're very, often we will blanch a whole bulb and then we can stuff between the layers. So you could stuff something, cheese or something delicious in there and serve that as a salad or an appetizer.
Use the shape of the vegetable to your advantage. That's a beautiful idea. I think that's very popular now, is leaving things in their more organic form, a little bit larger, and honoring the vegetable itself versus mincing it to nothingness.
All right. I need a saucepan. Okay. Yeah, perfect. So we're just going to do our brine in here. A cup of cider vinegar, half a cup of sugar. So I have my cider vinegar up there. There it is. So I often can't find a measuring cup or something. These work great. This is 2 cups. So I'm going to make a 1 times this. Just going to fill it halfway. It's not a super exact science. The more exacting is when you're canning and you're timing down here. You want to definitely make sure you have enough acid to preserve the vegetables for 6 months or so. I don't typically keep my canned things around more than a year. I try and eat them within a year, and then I start to really doubt it after it passes that year mark, whether it's going to be very delicious or not anymore. And then I'm going to need 3 cups of water. Thank you. No, you can just fill one of these jars. Or one of the big ones. Okay, half a cup of sugar. Got another jar here, my measuring cups. I was on Belinda Jensen a couple weeks ago and I was using these and she was like, "That's so smart." It's like, well, they're already portioned out for you, you know? Why not? Half a cup. I'm going to add my water to that. I'm going to put it on. A little bit of salt again for that preserving. You can use whatever salt you like. I really like kosher salts, the bigger grains, the lighter, a little more forgiving salt.
3 cups in here?
3 cups, please, yes. Yep, those are 2. Yep. A tablespoon of salt. And this is where it kicks it up a little bit, some hot pepper flakes. You could use a nice pepper that's from the market, a hot one. The Farmer Dean, who owns Tangletown Gardens, is growing me some of the hottest peppers in the world, you know. And I'm a little fearful of them. We just got a whole bag of piri piri, which are these tiny little peppers from North Africa, and supposedly they're the hottest pepper.
And the smaller the pepper, the hotter they are.
Yeah, ooh, they're just, I mean, I haven't even opened the bag. I'm like, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. Maybe a hot pepper vinegar, or I think Kate, who's one of my chefs at the restaurant, you want to do jardinera. So Mondays is when we do our canning. We're closed. We do our cleaning and our canning and our pickling, and so we think all week, kind of bounce ideas off, get our products in, and then we can for about 4 or 5 hours on Mondays. It's always a very fun day for us. Okay, so we have our brine. Is that going? You can turn that on for me. Give me a little flame under there. I have my vinegar, my sugar, my water, my salt, and my red peppers. So that's basically my brine. And now I'm going to take a jar here. And there's this. And we can, if I had my druthers, I'd have this jar because it's just taller. You know, it's going to fit my carrots and stuff a little prettier. I pickled a bunch of carrots. I put up like 36 jars, and they were gone in like a week at the restaurant. They put them out for sale. So I'm having a hard time between preserving for my winter bounty and everybody else preserving for their winter bounty. So it's been kind of fun. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're out of those carrots already? So, but they're so pretty. Some of the carrots, these are called dragon blood carrots, and so they're really dark, deep purple on the outside and then bright yellow on the inside. So they're very, very fun and beautiful. I'm going to slip a slice of my, I always like my canning to look as pretty as it can be also, as taste is good. But I think it's, you know, food is such a visual thing.
It makes great gifts too when you get that.
Yeah.
Some serious craft work went into making it.
I think the interesting thing is the rutabaga in there. A lot of people wouldn't think to put a rutabaga, but they're buttery and wonderful, and pickled just great. Also, turnips do a nice justice to the brine. You want to make sure that your stuff isn't sticking out too much, so I'm kind of trying to wind this around, try and rearrange so that we don't have a lot of stuff sticking out of the brine. You want to keep it under this band, basically, and tightly enough that the liquid won't make it float up.
Yeah, if it's pressing against the lid, that could be a problem. That's one thing she's referring to. And, yeah, we also sanitized our jars. Just even though you're putting a high acid, brine in there, it's always a good idea to sanitize your jars, wash them. Make sure you're working with clean utensils, that kind of thing.
So I'm really making sure that I just pack that down in there, and we don't have anything pop up that could cause me a problem, and in the 6 months I might store it. I'll put another piece of this kind of floated down the side. So you really want to pack your jars, because you'll notice when you add the liquid that all of a sudden your jar, you may just have pickles floating up here, because you thought you really packed it in there, but you really need to pack them in there, I think.
Yeah, you'll end up needing more brine then if you don't pack it tight enough, and then you got to go back to the recipe and create more brine.
And then we also have a little bit of garlic. I'm just going to put a slice or two down the side again. You don't want too much. You don't want it to be an offensive flavor, but you want it to be an enhancement again. You want the rutabaga to still taste like a rutabaga and the carrot to have the sweetness of the carrot. So that is that. And then we did a large format also, which is really pretty. It's got all the stuff in there, the fennel frond. We're going to add just a little bit of our toasted fennel seed to each jar. Now, obviously, if you're going to can these, you need a really large pot. That pot won't even submerge this, so you need sort of an industrial stock pot size to actually can that. Again, I'm just going to push down little stems and stuff because we want to get... Maybe I'll cap it off with a little...
So Beth, I just watched your brine. I turned it off.
Okay.
We basically just dissolve the sugar and salt in there. Make sure that it's now a solution, and the flavors have blended. The chili flake, any other spices you put in there.
So really the only one we're going to can is this little one. Where'd my towel go? There we go. I'm just going to pull this over. This is a great little tool that helps you funnel it in easier.
Many a mess is avoided with that tool.
And they're available at any place that has canning supplies.
And they make big ones too if you're doing different size projects.
You always want to wait if you're going to can. You want to wipe the edges, make sure that's clean, because that's where your seal is going to be. That's a very important part. That's a good thing for the kids to do if you're canning with younger. And then I just gently, you don't want to tighten the band down really hard. You just want to get it so that it's barely on there. Is really what you want. You want this to seal down and not using this to seal it down. You can tighten it afterwards, and you'll hear them all kind of plump down. They all make that canning noise, which is great. Oh, that is on. So I have a very old. I'm sure you can get it anywhere. But it's my old canner that my mom used to use. It comes with this insert, so you can pull this out, and you can just put your jars in there, and then it easily submerges. You can also, it has little hooks to hook on the side, which is great, and then you can just drop it down in there. You want to make sure it's under the water.
And it's also off the bottom. If the jar is on the bottom, on a very thin, thin metal pot, it could crack the jar. It's like too much of a heat differential, it cracks your jar.
Yeah, I cracked one last night when I was doing some of this. So I was going fast at 11 o'clock after we closed. And I think it was a jinx because my sous chef said, "Have you ever cracked a jar?" And I was like, "No, I haven't ever." And then I cracked one like the next time I was canning. These are so pretty.
Some of the things that she has over here are pickled garlic scapes, this curly kind of flowering stalk of the garlic, available in June, usually when they're harvested. The farmers need to cut this out of the garlic so the garlic gets bigger, the bulb gets bigger. These are great to pickle. They're usually blanched first, but they become really nice sort of...
I found some.
Yeah.
One of the farmers still had some scapes left.
They look great on like a charcuterie plate or a pickle platter, and you can pack a lot into a jar very easily there.
Yeah, so I just did another jar. We'll put a little fennel frond in that one.
Could be tarragon or parsley or other herbs. It's really kind of your prerogative. Whatever you like in your flavoring. I tend to use a lot of tarragon and dill.
Yes, my mom used to use a lot of dill because it grew in her garden every year, so we always had mint and dill in everything. When I went to college, I sort of banned it from my life. I was like, I don't need dill for a while.
And came back, obviously.
Yes. So I think it's really fun to can with a friend, to go to the market, to pick out what you're going to do. The only thing I would say is don't be over ambitious. Like I went with them to the market and we were going to do all this, and like 14 hours later we were still watching our tomato paste cook down, and so there's some time involved also. You must make sure that you have a recipe that's not too complicated, and you actually understand the time it's going to take to make it start to finish.
It takes a long time for the water to heat up on these burners, especially a home burner, which is nowhere near as powerful as these. That's why canning in the commercial kitchen is a lot easier.
So we got those done. And Kate is charring some peppers. This is a really simple thing you can do over an open flame if you have a gas burner. You can do it in the oven if you just toss them in the oven.
Or in a broiler,
400 degrees, and turn them. It just brings out the sweetness. It takes the skin away, and it brings out the sweet flesh. We're just going to simply skin them, and the skin will just brush right off of them after they're cooled down. We're going to simply just toss them in a little salt and pepper and olive oil, kind of make a thick julienne, and we'll put together our pretty antipasto. For our pickles, we always like to do a little, we don't peel them all the way, we just do a little zip strip around them, like 3 or 4 strips with a peeler, and it just gives them a little bit of interest. Our cucumbers are coming in now, they're more like salad cucumbers, so they take the quick pickling really fast. The pickling cucumbers are a little sturdier, less seeds in there, and they're grown for their longevity, so they don't take on the pickling. These will taste a lot better in 3 days. They'll be really pickled, what we want. And again, this isn't a sour. It's 1-to-1 vinegar, sugar, so it's much more of a sweet pickling. I got some beautiful goat cheese from the gals right over there.
Singing Hills Dairy. They're a little bit newer to the market, and they have incredibly great fresh goat cheese. And they also flavor it themselves with some herb de Provence and some different varieties of
yeah, so we got an herb de Provence one, and then we got a plain one that I just chopped some fresh parsley for. And I was just going to make like a little, for my antipasta plate, so just a little pretty ball and roll it around. We'll put just a little bit of salt while we roll it around. Crack a little black pepper on there.
This could be any combination of herbs or some chopped hazelnuts, for example, things like that. Lots of opportunities and possibilities.
This would be a great place to use some of your fennel frond for a garnish.
Another option for cheeses here at the market, which you'll find equally rewarding, is over Stephen Reed over at Shepherd's Way. He's got a soft sheep's cheese. I believe it's called Fresago, and it's softer. You can roll it into a ball, and you could coat it as well with herbs and nuts. I like fennel seed on there, for example, or a little bit ground up cumin, paprika. They'll work really well.
Again, a great place where you'd want to toast your fennel seeds. These aren't pickled, but they're just so pretty. We'll put them on there. All right, so these can be opened and sampled. All right, how are the eggs?
We're checking on our eggs, and a little bit more time-consuming there, but we're going to be serving you a little bit of a sample of what we've got here, a miniature version of our antipasti plate.
God, what happened?
With some of Beth's pickled carrots and rutabaga, as well as some bread here from Solomon's Bakery, some pumpernickel bread, just to round it out a little bit, provide a little bit more variety of foods.
So our eggs turned out beautifully. We're going to do a little, so I just start out with my jar, my clean jar. I have a fresh beet. That's what colors it, is the beet. If you use a yellow beet, it'll give it a kind of orangey yellow, more of a turmeric-y hue to it. We just washed these. We don't peel them, roast them, anything. We just thinly slice them because we're really after that color. Put those in the bottom. A couple rings of, and then we pack our perfect eggs in there.
I wonder if it'd work with a golden meat. That'd be an interesting option.
Yeah, I think it would be beautiful.
Yeah, let's try that.
We at Wiseacre, we serve a pickle plate where we use all our little onions and beets and stuff out of our different pickling. So this is my sweet pickling brine. I'm just going to give it a little stir with something here. Do we have a spoon somewhere? Voila. I don't know my kitchen at all. This is good. I just want to stir some of those good pickling spices. They're out of big jars. Yeah.
What other ways could we use the pickled eggs?
Well, they're delicious just on a salad.
Yeah.
So then I turn it upside down so that that color will leach through.
Sure.
And you can keep kind of, by the end of the demo, they'll be pretty pink. These are pink, but these were bull's blood beets, so they weren't quite as red. They had stripes in them, so they make a lighter pink. These will make red. These are really, really beautiful. I'll do a couple more of those.
I would love this on a sandwich, I think. That'd be a nice creative way to make a sandwich.
Again, you don't want them sticking out of the brine too much. And turning them upside down is a little trick to keep everything in the brine you want in the brine.
So that would be just sitting in your fridge right after it's pickled, upside down.
Yep, and just like that.
And what's the time frame again before you go ahead and eat it? Is it
it's about 24 hours, and they'll be really beautiful, and they'll have picked up a lot of flavor, and then they last about 4 days, 5 days in your refrigerator.
Okay. Yeah, it's high protein, so it's probably going to be.
Yeah, it doesn't have the shelf life that you wish. There are canning, I mean, my mom used to eat pickled eggs right off the bar, out of the big jar, and pickled hog's feet. I grew up with a southern mother. And I don't know if she did it to gross us out but we never partook. And then I started pickling a lot more and understood her love of it. So that's going to pickle up. And we'll sample those. Oh, the pickled fennel is very good.
There's another pickled fennel recipe that I submitted, which you can take when you come on up here and grab that recipe. That is where the fennel is a little bit steeped in like a sweet syrup, for example, vanilla sugar and white wine vinegar, and it softens a little bit, and you just cut it into a chip form, about the size of like a chip, and it can be canned that way actually, and it won't have quite as much crunch, but it'll be a little softer. A nice way to eat the fennel for the winter antipasti platter.
Well, those are already starting to get that beautiful color. And we have our pepper. It's a little hot, but you just take a little towel and you can rub the skin right off of it.
Yeah, we steam those a little bit in some way. We just cover it with a towel or a bowl, plastic. Steaming it helps the skin come away, and it becomes easier to peel after it comes off the gas flame. It's good to learn to do these because they're quite expensive in the store. Very easy to make on your own.
Yeah, you could just pack them in olive oil and keep them in your refrigerator. Pull them out, and you've got your own charred peppers.
Little dip,
thank you. So we're just going to do some nice long strips. I like to cut away that little inner ribbing.
This is a little like a recipe called pepperonata, which is also with roasted bell peppers and a little bit of vinegar and olive oil. The Italian recipe, pepperonata. It's a great sort of additive to a dish as well for sandwiches or even accompaniment to fish, for example.
We have a little bowl. I'm just going to toss them in a little fresh extra virgin olive oil.
Of course, yeah.
A little salt. Again, if you have your fennel prawn, this would be a pretty place to do a nice little chop garnish of it. So it's very simple. Coming around to our pasta plate.
We've got a really nice platter here that's been handmade. It's out of hardwoods. It's made by Joel Nichols Fine Furniture, who's tucked away back in the corner here, and he comes to the market fairly often, and he's offered to let us use and show this beautiful platter, and he's got many others like it. Really beautiful pizza paddles pizza peels that you wouldn't even want to use because they look so good. But they're finished, so they're food friendly. They can be just cleaned, outside the dishwashing, or just with a little bit of soapy water and towel. But this is something that again, you can get the food here at the market. You can also get all of the serving utensils and the beautiful handmade platters, whether ceramic or wood. We've got a ceramicist back here, Tom Jazek and Heather Wang, who also have a lot of nice handmade bowls and plates, for example, which you could do similar work with on them. And just to mention a few more things we have that you could add to your antipasti platter. The market is a smoked trout from Star Prairie. Very nice addition to any kind of nosh plate. Shepherd's Way also sells some nice sausages that are made with lamb sausage, merguez sausage, which could be added to this platter. And I think in the future we're going to see more of that as it gets developed. Maybe we can convince Greenox charcuterie people to come down here and sell their really beautiful local charcuterie products, prosciutto and capicola and things like that. So we've got Chev cheese. We've got a variety of cheeses and pickles, quick pickles, roasted vegetables, which you can do any number of little things here. This is a lot of creative ways to use the products here at the market.
Yeah, these are just so pretty. I love to look in and see all the beautiful vegetables, all from the market.
Well, actually, I mean, some of this could be, you do this right and big enough, you could actually make a light meal out of this in certain seasons, for example, and then be eating local in the wintertime. It's quite a nice way to appreciate your surroundings and your farmers, even when you're not coming to the market every Saturday, like right now. Some of these preserved items too can be quite expensive if you're buying them. You can see locally made preserved items in the markets, the co-ops, for example. But if you're doing your own, it's a real nice gift, or a good way to save a buck or two for those nice holiday items.
But also, if you're going to be purchasing someone's homemade stuff and you've made it, you know why it's expensive, because it takes a lot of time, a lot of preparation to get it to the counter to sell it. So I never really hesitate to pay, under $10 for a nice jar of Minnesota preserved anything.
One final thing I'll just mention quick before we bring our samples out to you is that next Saturday, or 2 Saturdays from now on the 27th, we are actually having a sort of a state fair style canning contest. We're going to have some tasters here, and you can bring in your samples of pickled and canned items to be tasted, and you'll participate in a sort of fun exchange between some of the tasters and everybody here while we try a bunch of different samples, for example. And also you can check out more information for that at the Yes You Can booth right next door here, as they're talking about canning and preserving per se for the larder, the long-term storage.
That sounds fun, the contest.
Yeah.
Sounds very fun. I love the ag building at the state fair, or the horticulture building, and just walk through and see the biggest pumpkin and the biggest cucumber and who won the blue ribbon on this.
Right. I think a lot of recipes get handed down too. The pickling recipes, families hold them dear, so there's something that I think we're going to get some nice stuff coming in.
Yeah, I bet you will. That would be a really fun contest. All right, so I just finished our peppers. I like to leave a little char because it gives a little flavor, and you don't have to peel it all off. And I never rinse them because you would rinse away some of the beautiful oil and
The flavor,
that's
you
in
rinse
there.
away the flavor. It's a great point. That's because some people say to rinse them under water per se. And
Yeah, it's an easy peel and stuff, but I think you rinse away a lot of the personality of the pepper.
yeah, if you're really having trouble, you can just get water on your hand and rub away some of the skin that way with a wet hand. That works as well. So
Yes.
before you take off, make sure you get our sample, of course, and come up here and check out some of the menu items at Wiseacre. They've got cards and the menus up here. We have recipes that have gone around. You have those. And if you'd like to ask any more questions of Beth Fisher from Wiseacre or myself, we'll be hanging around for a while. We can answer pickling, preserving questions, all kinds of things. I see one here from Marjorie. Yeah, she's about the tray. We'd like to just walk it around a little and have people look at it. And it's really beautiful. It's really a piece of artwork that meets craft work that's you can use in your kitchen. Good point. We'll bring that around. I'm a woodworker myself, so this is near and dear to my heart to have this kind of stuff available. Okay, so our samples are getting plated for you, and we want to just give Beth Fisher a round of applause and a big thank you for coming into the market today.
Yeah, thank you. You can go on Facebook, Wiseacre Eatery, or you can come to our website, wiseacreeatery.com. Our menus change. I'm going to change the menus for a fall menu after Labor Day. Right now we're running a beautiful summer menu. And so just look for things ever changing there. As the farm, we just raised 50 ducks. So we're confying duck, and we're doing duck breast specials, and lots of really fun things.
Great.
Really.
And don't forget about Mill City Market when you think on Anticosti this winter.
Definitely. Quick pickling. All right.